morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan, your host, the Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined by Candy Emily, Marvin Powell III, Mel Farr Jr. Well, everybody, going to have a really interesting show in every sense of the word. Let's get to it. We're going to keep this bad boy going until about 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Used to see p.m., but not this morning. And you want to talk about what a gunslinger I am this morning? I'm definitely going back to my home country, I think. Kind of, maybe a little. We'll see. But there's a lot involved tomorrow. And why are we talking hockey on a football show? For good reason, because Ontario is going to permit 6 a.m. alcohol sales for Canada, the U.S. gold medal Olympic matchup. As they get ready to watch it on Sunday. Ontario people, I have energy this morning. And again, don't I always do it at 6 a.m. local time. Why are they going to do that? Because they want to celebrate Team Canada and they want to show it as a unifying thing. So I don't know, people. Never thought about 6 a.m. in the morning for alcohol, but in Canada, they're saying, oh, Canada, forget about 6 a.m. Let's have a party early before eggs. Candy, some thoughts.
You know, it's a great, I think it's great because they're going to celebrate them playing the United States for the gold medal for the hockey. I hope they are on the losing end of it, but you know, if people want to gather together and root and support and have a good time, I think it's okay.
Marvin?
This reminds me back when I was in college on St. Patty's Day, those frat boys used to get up like 6 in the morning to go drinking, you know. I was never really much of a drinker. I drink socially, drink a little bit in college like everybody else. But it sounds right, man. You know, hockey's a big deal up there. This is like, you know, their Super Bowl, World Series. This is their main sport. So, and they're playing against, you know, the evil empire. So, you know, which is us, I think, in the media. But, yeah, it makes perfect sense, man. You know, I mean, it's a huge day to celebrate, to be a big game. I'm going to watch it, you know, just because of, you know, what it is. And, you know, I'm going to check it out. But, yeah, it makes sense, man. If they sell in that beer, which I'm sure they are, I mean, they can make some money too. You know, I think it's a good thing. It should be a good game.
Good eye opener here on Inside the Pigskin. We're talking frozen pond, people. These guys don't even sniff the frozen pond unless you have a event of this magnitude, because I'm going to tell you on February 22nd, when did they win? 1980, the United States won the gold medal. Guess what? February 22nd, and they did it against Finland. Do they have a chance to do it against Canada? We'll see. All right, well, we're going to go to Carson Palmer. Huh?
Mel's got to talk about the topic.
All right, go ahead.
Well,
who's next? Go ahead, Mel,
just tell me this here, because I heard what you read, but what is the big deal about it? Do they not normally sell liquor that early in the morning or something like that, or is it because of the
who drinks liquor at 6 in the morning, Mel?
Huh?
It's a special occasion.
Who drinks at 6 in the morning? Oh man, I know a lot of folks that drink at 6 in the morning.
You need better friends. You need better friends.
I know a lot of people drink at 6 in the morning. You know, we have a liquor store and we open up at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's a line at 9 o'clock in the morning to get liquor. So I was just asking, you know, because they're playing at a certain hour over there. I mean, it's like 12 hours time difference or something like that. So it would make all the sense in the world for them to celebrate. You know, hopefully they won't have much to celebrate about, and they'll be drowning their sorrows in that alcohol. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, that's a subjective opinion that we all probably agree with. And Dogman says he got violated in the Discord car. All right. How you feeling? Good morning, Dogman. We're going to be dogging this whole show all the way. I hope you can stay with us throughout. All right. Carson Palmer was named the 2025 Max Press National Coach of the Year in San Margarita, California. Marvin, right up your alley, we have a Carson Palmer sighting.
Listen, I love it. I love it, man. Carson was our starting quarterback my senior year when he was a freshman back in '98. And, you know, humble kid, good kid, talented kid. Really happy to see him have success in coaching and just being able to really impact these young kids. I'm certain the Santa Margaritaville community is thankful to have him. I mean, this guy goes out in his first year and wins the state championship in the state of California. That's super impressive. It really is. So yeah, congratulations, Carson. He was a great Trojan. He was a great pro. Was a Super Bowl away from probably a solidified Hall of Fame. And there's there's rumors and there's a lot of questions about whether he's going to end up at USC one day as the head coach. Right now, we letting Paul Hackett ride it out, see what he can do. But if it don't work out, we calling for Carson Palmer to be the head coach at USC.
He'd be a popular pick for sure, but you know what? You have to start somewhere, and he's doing the right thing, starting in a championship or in the high school ranks. I love everything the guy's doing. Off to Mel. A lot of the show, by the way, is going to be as much rapid fire as we can, but we'll try to keep it in perspective where everything that we say does matter, but we want to start improving the pace of the show, and I definitely feel we have the group to do it. All right, Mel, Carson Palmer, not a bad story out in San Margarita, California.
No, it's a great story, and he's pouring back in the youth, giving back to the youth. He has experience that he can share with these young men, not just about football, but just about life in general. Because he faced some trials and tribulations, and being drafted by Cincinnati, there's a lot of things that he had to deal with. Retired for a moment because he didn't want to play there anymore, and then resurfaced back down there in Arizona. So I think it's great for him to give back to the youth in that area.
All right, Candy.
How cool is it that he went back to it's his high school. He graduated from that school. In 2024, he returned to them as a volunteer coach for the freshman team on which his son Fletch was the starting quarterback. At the end of the season, the school appointed him as head coach of the varsity team, and on December 13th, 2025, they won the state championship. Awesome. I love it. It's a feel-good story. He goes back to his high school and coaches them to the state championship. Doesn't get much better than that.
No, it really doesn't. That's for sure. Okay, as we continue to move on, typical ACC tomfoolery. What do I mean by that? Let's go to the Florida State schedule, shall we? Seminoles. They're going to actually play 4 weekday games in 2026. Monday, they usually end up playing on Labor Day, and they're going to get SMU on Labor Day on 9/7, at Louisville Friday 10/9, at Pitt. You're looking at Friday 11/13 and versus Florida 11/27 right after Thanksgiving. Mike Norvell is going to have an interesting time juggling the academics with the 4 weekday games. Marvin, some thoughts about the Noles and how they're going to have to play some of these games during the week and offset the classes and the academics. Does people care about academics? That doesn't sound like to me. And this schedule doesn't show me any reason why I should believe otherwise.
Yeah, Mike Norvell, he's up against it this year, coming off of 7 wins just in the last 2 years. They need to figure out how to get some offense this year and how to win some games. The fact that these games are on the weekdays, it's really irrelevant. It's Florida State's a football school, and the fall is football season. They will find a way with technology to make sure these kids are taking classes. But this is any given Saturday, any given Sunday. That's the mentality for them. They have a new transfer quarterback in Ashton Daniels from the Auburn Tigers, and he'll be leading the charge. But yeah, I don't think Florida State fans really care about what day of the week the games are. They'd won like 15 games or 14 games 3 years ago, and then again coming off 7 wins total the last 2 years. So this is a big year for Florida State. Whether they play on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Norvell needs to find a way to win games.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that everybody, not in this day and age, they do. These are students, okay? This is academics.
Yeah, we're saying
these. Well, I mean, I know you have. First of all, I couldn't be a student in this day and age because I couldn't sit behind a computer. I have to go out there and badger the professor and get all this information that everybody in our industry definitely knows anyways. But that's what these students got to deal with. I'm glad I graduated in 86 because I would never be a good 2026 graduate. In fact, I know I wouldn't be. All right, Mel, go ahead. Of course, COVID probably had a lot to do with it too.
Florida State, when did Florida State become an academic powerhouse? Florida State's never really been known for its academics, and now these kids they're not getting paid to be student athletes anymore. They're getting paid to be athletes. So that's irrelevant. And especially with Mike Norvell, I mean, he's definitely, his seat is extremely hot this year. They have a new offensive coordinator because Gus Malzahn retired. So it's going to be, I know the last thing he's concerned about is those kids going to class. The thing that he's most important about, because what's going to keep his job, is going out there and competing and winning on the football field. So that's the least of his concerns.
Okay. Candy?
I think college football is trying to emulate what NFL has done. Because let's face it, in the past, it had always been Friday night was high school football, Saturday was college football, and Sunday was NFL. And then Monday they threw in, and then Thursday night football. But let's face it, last year the NFL threw in Black Friday football. They threw in some other different days. College is going by the way, trying to do the same thing. The only thing is they're going to stay away from Sunday because they know that they can't compete against the NFL. But are they going to start doing some Monday games? And Thursday, we saw a Thursday game, I think, last year, and Friday. Yeah, they're trying to get ratings for each school, so they're trying to spread the schedules out so they're not all going up on Saturdays to make more money. Like we've talked about before, it's a business. I mean, college football has become a business. With NIL, it's a business, and they're there to make money.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I agree all the way around, but still, I still find it hard to believe that you have 4 weekday games, or once upon a time it was predominantly Saturday, but welcome to the wonderful world of TV, people. They're going to schedule you wherever they can schedule, and the TV money rules to begin with. All right, with that said, Alabama is expected to hire USC's Adrian Clem as offensive line coach. Before USC, the former NFL starting offensive lineman was an offensive line coach of the New England Patriots, Oregon Ducks, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some thoughts about the Alabama hire, Marvin, because he's going to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I think I've heard about that. Listen, it's an experienced coach, and Alabama, they're in a series. This is a crucial year for them. Kalen DeBoer, I think, is in year 2 now of the or year 3 of being the head coach over there, and it has not been Saban like at all. And those fans ain't having it. And Alabama was notorious for having great offensive line play during the Saban years, and they did. They got those big boys in there. They got them coached up, and they got them kicked out to the NFL. So yeah, this is a big pickup for Alabama, and I read about it, and hopefully it works out for them. Really, I don't care, how I feel about I'm so mad about Alabama and their dominance and Nick Saban's dominance, and nobody else was relevant for like 20 years. So I absolutely appreciate watching them struggle a little bit. But no, this should be a good pickup for them. I think Kellen DeBoer is a good coach, and I just think it's so much more competitive now with NIL that, it's just hard to have the dominance that they had prior to him getting there.
Well, I'll tell you, if you get good work, it's going to be recognized a lot of places. Adrian Clem obviously being recognized, and what is an important year for Kalen DeBoer, for sure. And why is it an important year for Kalen DeBoer? He was considered for the Michigan Wolverine job, but elected to stay loyal in obviously Alabama. I mean, that's something that you have to look at it, though. He was looked at it. He stays in Alabama. He's loyal. Yeah, there you go. But nevertheless, Michigan made a good choice in Kyle Whittingham. All right, some thoughts about the hire, Mel.
Yeah, I think definitely Michigan made the right choice. I don't know much about this coach, but I know that it's a different day for Alabama right now. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, they don't run the football very well. And offensive line play was very, very poor last year. They don't run the football very well. They had a difficult time protecting the quarterback as well. Obviously, they feel that this gentleman can come in and give them something in that offensive and help their offensive line because that is an area of extreme need for them. But it's a different day for Alabama. Kalen DeBoer really does not like to run the football the way that Nick Saban likes to run the football, and so Alabama is not gonna look the same way in years to come as it looked in years in the past. But they are definitely, that's definitely a good hire for them because that was a big problem for them if you looked at them throughout the entire year and in the college playoffs. They had their inability to run the football.
Candy?
He had a good career as a player, playing for the teams that he did. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Why not? Why not hire him and see what he can do? He's proven it on the field before. He's gone to some elite schools as a coach, so and NFL. So I think that's a good hire for him, and it's an area of need. Alabama's not the Alabama that they used to be. Not that any of us on this panel are upset about that, but good hire.
Okay, this next story is going to be a prelude for what we're going to be doing on future episodes here. Every so and then, we're going to probably come up with one or two basketball topics. Excuse me, everybody. And we're going to come up with a basketball topic every one or two times. And I know that Mel and Marvin like to talk basketball from time to time, just to give an opportunity. But this is a really good one that Candy and I dealt with last Sunday, over in Boca Raton. FAU forward Devin Williams, UCLA transfer. John Jackas talks about his development. Candy will set the stage with some stats, and then we'll go to the tape. So actually, you have a UCLA transfer who ends up going down to Boca Raton. But kid's a good story. Candy, go to the tape, but stats first.
So Devin Williams ended up, if you don't know, the final score of the USF versus Florida Atlantic game was 83-81 in overtime. Devin Williams ended up with 15 points for FAU, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 5 blocks. So now I'll go to the tape. Let's do this. Go here. And
Oh, I have to ask, about Devin Williams. I saw this kid play. He's a remarkable. A lot of these LA kids are obviously good. What are your thoughts about his overall ability when he performs on the court?
As hard as it is right now for what we've gone through the last 3 weeks with the injuries, seeing what I think is a top 3 team in the league struggle, kids that I love, I'm not going to lose my mind over it. Devin Williams did not play for 2 years. He's made as big a leap as anybody in the country. Coach Fee and Isaiah have done as good a player development job with him as you can find. He's top 5 in the country in blocks, and when he plays the right way, he's going to get you 15 and 7 with 5 blocks. And I don't know that there's a better player when it comes to massive improvement if you take into consideration like sat for 2 years. So we love him. We're proud of him. There's enough in there for it to be good, and that's what we're going to do. It'll be good.
Thank you. All right, there you go. Do you have a hidden gem in Boca? Normally, when you see these type of transfers, you see them go from Boca Raton to Westwood, but this is one of those rare transfers where they went from UCLA to Florida Atlantic. Obviously, Florida Atlantic lately has built a decent. They've had 4 or 5 straight winning seasons and made it to the Final Four a couple of years ago under Dusty May. But so, Marvin, your thoughts about Devin Williams? This kid looks like he has a pretty good upside.
Yeah, listen, as much as I hate to admit it, those people across town, they have a good basketball program. They have for a while and for decades, and if FAU is able to get a UCLA basketball player, considering that UCLA does recruit, nationally, they recruit at an elite level. UCLA sends guys to the pros, and, you would think that they have money to spend as well. So for FAU to be able to get that player, to get that caliber of player who already has a little bit of experience, I mean, it's only good for them. It's huge for them. That's how these small schools are going to really have to compete. And I know FAU has made some noise nationally with their sports program. They've had some high profile coaches in football, and obviously here we are talking about basketball. This is how schools like that come up, man. You got to try to, steal from the rich, and get that elite talent. So kudos to them. Sounds like this kid could be promising. Let's see.
No bigger coach in FAU history than Dusty May doing a sensational job for the Michigan Wolverines. Speaking of Dusty May and the Wolverines, they will face off against the Duke Blue Devils. I'm looking forward to seeing that game later on today when we take a break from Olympic hockey. Mel, go ahead. This kid went from obviously Westwood down to Boca Raton.
Yeah, it's funny you should bring that up. We talk about the UCLA basketball situation often amongst ourselves. We have some guys that went to UCLA and, what's going on at UCLA. Mick Cronin is kind of 21st century Bobby Knight. And if you don't play the way that he wants you to play, UCLA's not going to – they're not one of those teams that are going to, score 100 points or be in the high 80s. Mick Cronin likes to keep the score 60s, 70s. You're going to play full court defense. You're going to pick them up full court. You're going to play full court defense. He wants guys that are going to play a certain way. They had to play defense, number one. It had to be very unselfish. You're not going to have, I don't think, in this day and age, you're not going to have a player of the year or a Wooden Award winner out of UCLA. They're not really recruiting at an elite level, getting the top players to come there because of the way that he coaches. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the way that he coaches. Just not getting the results is what I'm saying. And Mick Cronin is the fifth highest paid coach in the NCAA right now. So this kid here probably was a talented kid coming out of college, but could adapt to the way that Mick Cronin wanted him to play. And you heard the coach say when he plays the right way. So, what is it that he's talking about?
Right.
He's in tune to playing good defense, doing all the small things, the fundamental things. So, obviously things didn't work out for him at UCLA, and hopefully things work out for him there at FAU.
Okay. Candy.
So going back to, he was a 4-year varsity basketball letter winner in high school. As a senior, he ranked the number 72nd player in his high school class by ESPN.com. He also ranked 74th in the nation by 247 Sports and number 92nd by Rivals.com. The one other interesting little tip that I would add is his great uncle, Mac Calvin, was a point guard who attended Long Beach City College and USC and played 11 seasons of professional basketball, 7 years with the ABA, and 4 seasons in the NBA. He recorded the second most assists in ABA history and was later named to the ABA all-time team. So he comes from some basketball lineage there. So,
Well, good to give FAU a little bit of props here. And this is a good kid. I was impressed. And Mel, I love the analogy to how you mentioned Mick Cronin and Bobby Knight. Sometimes you have a tough guy like him. John Jackas is a pretty good coach. And one thing I'll say about John Jackas, and even though we don't have that clip on this particular show, is he does an incredible job recruiting international players is what he does to try to keep a mid-major relevant. And he'll find players and he'll win there. And that's not an easy program to win at over at FAU. But again, Dusty made what he did was miraculous over there. Let's go back to the pros. Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rees has been hired by the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to join former Browns coaches Bill Callahan and Kevin Stefanski. Marvin, your thoughts about Tommy Rees going to the Big A?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Stefanski was a head coach in Cleveland. I'm sure he wants to bring some of his staff to Atlanta. They have a young quarterback, Michael Penix, and they have to figure out their quarterback situation because he's a young, talented player, but the guy's always hurt, With that said, Cleveland didn't have the most dynamic offense this past season. You can argue that Tommy Rees, did okay with Shedeur Sanders, but I don't know if they're bringing over the winning recipe, to be honest with you, with Stefanski and Rees. It doesn't really. If I'm a Cleveland fan or a Cleveland quarterback, there's nothing about this move that makes me feel excited or motivates me at all. But Stefanski has to fill up his coaching lineup. He's going to do it with people he's familiar with. And, though he didn't have I don't think he had a winning record in Cleveland. I mean, you would think some of those guys on staff at Cleveland are going to be in Atlanta, so it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, keep in mind, Cleveland's been dysfunctional forever. So you have Matt Ryan running the show in Atlanta. I don't mind giving coaches a second chance. If you bring in some familiarity, you do. Rees, whether you know it or not, was actually considered an early candidate for the Michigan Wolverines, but that obviously subsided. He was, but we'll see. I always believe in giving Matt Ryan will be the key in this whole thing in Atlanta. Anyways, you have a franchise icon running the show upstairs and trying to bring in people. But I like your point, Marvin. Off to Mel.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of musical chairs. They just kind of move locations. They went from Cleveland, now they're down in Atlanta. What they did in Cleveland didn't work. I don't know how they feel it's going to work in Atlanta. My dad used to always say a change of environment doesn't change the attitude. So I don't know how this change of environment is going to change their production. I mean, the last couple of years he's faltered. He hasn't done a very good job, and he can make all the excuses in the world that he wants as far as ownership and different things of that nature. He had an opportunity. He was successful his first few years, if you want to call it successful. I think he was the coach of the year one of those years. But the last couple of years have been dreadful. I'm happy for Tom Reese. Watched him play from the time I think he went to Notre Dame. He was a quarterback there at Notre Dame. Watched him play at Notre Dame. His dad actually recruited me to UCLA. So I'm really, really excited for the kid and hope I get an opportunity to see his dad while he's down here.
Okay. Candy?
Yeah, I agree with both the gentlemen. I mean, on February 5th of 2024, he was hired as Cleveland Browns pass game specialist and tight ends coach. And then on January 15th of 2025, he was promoted to offensive coordinator. On November 3rd, Stefanski announced that Reese would assume play calling duties beginning in the team's Week 10 game against the New York Jets. Now, if I look to see how they did from that point on, did they light it up? No. So sometimes a change of scenery helps because you have different players in Atlanta. A lot of what'll matter is the play of your quarterback and your offensive line, obviously with your running backs and all of it. But hopefully for him, it'll have a different outcome. We'll see.
Yeah, again, play the quarterback makes or breaks you. All right, here's a interesting one here. Former Colts quarterback Philip Rivers moved himself from consideration for the Bills head coaching vacancy after interviews with the team. Now, when I actually saw this story, and he was interviewing for the job, this actually seemed like an April Fool's joke to me. And to this day, as I review the story, which is why I'm talking about it now, it still seems like an April Fool's joke for me. He has no history with the franchise. And then Philip Rivers, Josh Allen, I don't know. I was never crazy about it, and I'm glad that Joe Brady got hired, but Philip Rivers was never going to be a fit for this job. And to me, it's nothing more than a laughable, clickable topic, which is why I'm incorporating Philip Rivers with a alcohol 6 a.m. story here in Canada where they can drink, because I'm wondering if I'm drinking after reading this. Marvin, put this together, please. Philip Rivers to Buffalo. If that doesn't make Tony Randall and Jack Klugman the oddball, then this certainly comes pretty darn close.
Yeah, I think it's a real slap in the face to all the players, all the former players who have started at the bottom of the food chain in the coaching world and have had to work their way up to get to where they're at as assistants or coordinators or position coaches, whatever it may be. And you question. I mean, I've always questioned some of the hiring practices of some of these organizations and what they're focused on and who they're looking at and how they determine who deserves a job. This guy has zero professional experience. I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he's a good dude. I think the story of him coming back this year is cute, but I think it's just a slap in the face to the process, to the cycle. You know what I mean? To all these people who trying to get up there at that position and coach at that level. So, I don't, but then on the flip side, I look at it as, if they're going to hire Philip Rivers to be their head coach, or at least have that in consideration, then maybe this is a door that's opening up for former players, and Philip is the first, and we'll see other players, follow. But yeah, I question the move. It makes me look at the Buffalo Bills like, what the hell are you doing? I don't look at them as a clown organization. But what is this? That's insane. And then you couple that with the fact that, there's always been a history of NFL teams not hiring, African-American, not hiring black coaches. This past year, we had 9 openings. Now, it is weird to me that of the 9 positions that were available, not one of them felt fit that African-American could lead that charge. So, but here we are talking about giving Philip Rivers, a head coaching gig, and they say that privilege isn't a real thing. It's a very real thing. It's weird. It's weird to me. I like Philip, but I don't think that he's the key to Buffalo getting over the hump.
See, I'm befuddled. Brian Flores hasn't gotten a job yet, but I have a feeling, and I'm not going to tip my hat right now, that this is going to get straightened out, because this case, the lawsuit with those coaches is starting to move forward a little bit. So I have a feeling Brian Flores will get his chances sooner or later, but we're not going to talk about it today. Was a 70-minute show, but I just wanted to put that out there. Mel, some thoughts about this sham is what I actually call it of an interview, because it is a sham of an interview.
Yeah, I mean, Marvin started to allude to it a little bit. I mean, if you're going to give somebody an interview, I mean, why not interview Deion Sanders? So, there was actually 10 openings, almost 1/3 of the league turnover this year, and so it's just the old adage. I mean, and it's not going to change, Scott. It's not going to change right now, particularly in this political climate right now. And Marvin, I'm sure your dad always, when you're growing up, man, you have to be twice as good to get half to get. And we have a lot of guys who are extremely qualified to get interviews that are not getting the interviews. Give them a chance. I mean, if you're going to give Phillip Rivers a chance, why not interview Deion Sanders? Because at least he's doing it at a high level. Not coaching a college or high school team. He started coaching high school. They went to the HBCU, established himself there, and parlayed that into the Colorado gig. Give him, if you want to give somebody an opportunity, a real opportunity. I mean, because we all know Phillip Rivers was not going to get that head coaching job going from coaching a high school team to all of a sudden being the head in the face of a franchise, a multi-billion-dollar franchise. That wasn't going to happen. So what was the purpose? Why even put that out there? What was the purpose of that interview anyway? There's no connection there between Phillip Rivers and the Buffalo Bills. It'd be different if it was the Los Angeles Chargers or something like that. Then you might be able to understand him getting an interview. Yeah. But there's nothing there. There's between him and Buffalo. So it just never made any sense.
Yeah, you said a lot there, and I like what you said. Number one, the Los Angeles Chargers reference. You have a history with the organization. You might want to look at that one a little bit. And I emphasize the word sham because that's exactly, in my opinion, what it was. And again, this is a story that we're not going to avoid. But when I saw it out there and I'm looking at it, I said, I want to bring this to the forefront, especially as the Brian Flores situation starts to move forward in a different way. But it's certainly worth getting out there as well. Well, we'll keep the Florida Atlantic theme up a little bit, because Florida Atlantic running back transfer Jamari Sands has committed to Florida State. So by and large, why am I bringing this up? You want to think that things are going to get better over at Florida State. The 6 foot, 195-pound Fort Lauderdale native recorded 136 carries for 582 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 43 receptions for 2,277 yards during his times with the Owls. Sands will have 2 years of eligibility. Is this kid a hidden gem down the road, Marvin? Jamari Sands is going to go up to Tallahassee, and you'll certainly get more eyes put on him on a weekly basis, both not in the stands, but as well as scouts.
Yeah, this is the rich getting richer. This kid starts off at a small school, ends up at a bigger school. For as crucial as this year is for Mike Norvell, I hope he's a hidden gem. Again, these Seminoles are coming off 7 wins in the last 2 seasons. That's not Seminole football. They need as much offensive input as they can get. They're going to have a new quarterback. They're going to have to feature Deuce Robinson, a receiver. And, they have an O-line coming back, but they absolutely need to get as many weapons as possible. I hope he's part of the solution, because this is a situation where Mike Norvell shall only be bringing in players that are going to have impact, who are ready to go right now, because that's where he's at in his career at Florida State. It's a right now situation, or he's out of there.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I really don't have the answer to that question. I didn't see him play, but obviously, like Marvin says, I mean, this is a make it or break year for Mike Norvell. They definitely have to improve upon what they've done the last couple of years. It all starts. Running back is so dependent, and they're dependent on the offensive line. And I don't know what the offensive line play was like last year. I can't really remember. If they don't improve, if they haven't built this thing from the inside out, it doesn't matter who, you have Gale Sayers back there, Barry Sanders, doesn't matter who you have back there. If you can't win in the trenches, it's going to be very, very difficult for you. But you never can have enough talented players, but you got to make sure that you're able to dominate the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I want to. That's a good point you mentioned too, Mel. I just want to go over this kid's stats one more time. Obviously, he ends up 136 carries, 582 yards. That's not bad, especially for
it's not bad at all.
Right, and then let me carry the thought on, and let alone attack on a couple of touchdowns and 43 receptions for 277 yards. What does that mean? You have an all-purpose back. Candy, pick it up from there.
So the thing that gets me is he's played in 23 games with 5 starts in the past 2 seasons. Yes, he rushed 136 times for 582 and 2 touchdowns with the Owls. He caught 43 passes, 277 yards. Played 12 games with 4 starts in 2025, rushing for 465, adding 217 receiving yards. My thing is why has he only had 5 starts? If he's that good and Mike Norvell's rushing to grab him, but he only had 5 starts in 2 seasons, like there's something that why isn't he starting all of the games if he's that good? So hopefully for FSU, for Mike Norvell, he's what he needs and he fits into his program and into his scheme. A lot of it has to do with your quarterback and your offensive line, though, too. So we'll see what happens on the field.
All right, back to the Trojans. USC set to hire TCU head coach and Texas and Baylor assistant Gary Patterson as the team's next defensive coordinator. All right, Marvin, I'm starting with you. A lot of them, I don't mind getting a lot of Trojan topics up, but Gary Patterson's a heck of a coach. He's got to be a great addition to what Lincoln Riley is doing over at the Coliseum.
Yeah, they're familiar with each other. When Lincoln was at Oklahoma, Gary was at TCU, and Lincoln has said that over the years when they played, and they played 7 different times, that Gary Patterson was the hardest guy to scheme for, even though Lincoln went 7-0 against him in their time in the Big 12 together. Gary Patterson is a college football Hall of Fame coach. This guy has had some of the best defenses in the nation. He's had Thorpe Award winners. He's put guys in the pros. This defense is 4-2-5 that he has will be good for USC because one of our issues last year was we weren't challenging the receivers at all. We were playing 10 yards off. Gary's changing that. Gary's coming in here, blitz packages, challenging the receivers with the DBs. He's brought in a couple of his own coaches from TCU, guys who played for him, guys who are familiar with him. But yeah, he brings experience. He brings credibility. He'll essentially be the head coach of the defense. And if you listen to any of his interviews, they just had one yesterday. Actually, I mean, this guy is super excited. He said he's living across the street from campus, waking up, he's getting to campus at 5:30 in the morning. He's staying in the building until 9 o'clock at night. And this is February. This isn't even the season yet, So this guy is fully committed, man. There was a lot of concern about his age and the energy, but nah. If you listen to his press conferences, listen to his interviews, this guy's ready to coach football this year. And USC, who's bringing in the #1 recruiting class in the nation, of which 34 players, 32 of them are already on campus. We're bringing back defensive tackle, All-American Jakeem Stewart. So we have talent. We got guys coming in. Gary's going to be able to play. He's going to be able to coach some of the best talent he's ever had in his life. And this needs to be the best hire in Lincoln Riley's USC tenure, and I think it is.
Yeah, Gary Patterson's a heck of a coach, well-established, knows what it's like to coach in big games. I think in addition to the players you're talking about, sometimes your best free agents happen to be your coaching additions. Gary Patterson gets it right off the mill.
Yeah, it's obvious that Lincoln's trying to address a need on their team. And Gary Patterson, I've always had tremendous respect for him and what he's done as far as in his coaching career. It's a good hire for USC. It's not going to make a difference when they play, UCLA, but it's a good hire for USC. One thing that Lincoln Riley does not focus on, does not care about, is playing defense. He's all about offense. He needs somebody on that side of the ball that's just going to focus on defense. This guy was a head coach, so like Marvin said, he can be the head coach of the defense. Lincoln can do what he loves to do, sit there and dream up and scheme up all kind of plays on the offensive side of the ball. And, hopefully they can get things done on the defensive side of the ball where they're able to stop people, because historically in Lincoln's coaching career, they've had very, very poor defenses.
Candy.
Yeah, Patterson, he led the TC Horned Frogs to 6 conference championships, 11 bowl game victories. His 2010 squad finished the season undefeated at 13-0 after, and this pains me to say, after a 21-19 Rose Bowl victory over the Wisconsin Badgers on New Year's Day back in 2011. But the team ranked second in both major polls. He's going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, what a great hire for Lincoln. I just hope he doesn't have as much success, even though I know Marvin wants him to have success.
Well, it is what it is, Candy. I understand that we all have our loyalties here. Nevertheless, I'm just trying to focus on the task at hand. And I believe that, yeah, I have a lot of home team loyalties. I just want to be as neutral as I can to make sure we get the information out there. If you get my drift, called FYI.
Great hire.
Right. I understand. Wisconsin's your team. I get it. And it won't be long before Indiana gets a football team. We'll go ahead and tease that for another day. The Hoosier girl is going to have another team, probably one she never thought she'd end up with, but we'll leave it at that. All right. Well, Candy, how many times have you said, how many coordinators make great head coaches? Well, what happens when teams promote to head coach from within their current staff? I'll give you some great nuggets to throw your way. And that's this. The last head coach the Browns promoted from within with Freddie Kitchens. We all know how that one worked out. Freddie Kitchens, 1 year, he was 6 up and 10 down, 6 and 10. Then you had Jared Mayo 1 year with the Patriots. How did that work out? Oh, 4 and 13. Then you go from Jared Mayo to Antonio Pierce, 4 and 13. Raiders, Ben McAdoo, 1.5 years with the Giants. He's actually 13 and 15. He's actually one of the better ones in this group. Mike Mularkey of the Titans, that one worked out for the Tennessee, 2 years, 18 and 14. You had Dirk Cutter for the Buccaneers, 3 years, 19 up, 29 down, wins and losses. You have Doug Marrone of the Jaguars, 4 years, 22 up, 42 down. And, of course, Frank Reich of the Colts actually turned out well. You kind of 41, 43 and 1. All right, Candy, you always like to talk about head coordinators. I'm going to let you lead off on this one. What are your thoughts about the numbers and the statistics here? Good morning, Earl. About the fact that for the most part, you're right. Very few work out. But the one that isn't on this list, and maybe the person that compiled this list wasn't old enough to come up with, was when Wayne Fontes succeeded Darryl Rogers and went on to become one of the better head coaches, if not the winningest in Detroit Lion history, when he replaced Darryl Rogers, who coined the phrase, what does it take to get fired here? Well, you got fired. Wayne Fontes didn't do too bad. Got the Lions to an NFC championship game. We'll keep the focus on the kid, on all these thoughts. Candy, all right, you're probably right. Coordinators don't always work out. And I gave you as to why they don't.
Coordinators don't always work out, and maybe they don't always work out for the team that they were on, because maybe players know them only as one direction, and they don't have maybe they don't hire the rest of the coaches behind them to work with their systems, because if you notice, a lot of them seem to move teams, and maybe that's when they have more success. But I guess I never really thought of it that way, Scott. You bring up an interesting point, how many of them don't make it with the teams that they were offense or defense coordinators with.
Well, you've made a lot of these comments, okay, on the surface, and many of them are right. The only thing I've done with you this morning is give you a bunch of them that haven't worked out, and gave you put a little bit of meat on the bone is what I did with your, for the most part, your generalization. So I'm kind of giving you a backhanded compliment. All right, I'm done complimenting you until I get done with these two. All right, Marvin, some thoughts about what I just threw your direction.
It's hard to win in the National Football League, period. It's hard, man. And I think, these coaches don't have a long leash at all, in my opinion. I think it's a situation where, a team will hire you for 4 or 5 years, 6 years, and fire you after a year or two. If you don't have, it doesn't matter if, you could be a great offensive coach, great defensive coach, guru, but if you don't have GM, ownership, quarterback, if you don't have certain things in place, it doesn't matter, what boy genius you might be or what skills you may have as a coach. It's a crapshoot, man. It really is. And you never know which one of these, next gurus are going to pan out and which aren't. There are so many things at play, and you just better hope and pray that you find yourself with a good owner and in a good program, that is going to help facilitate your success as a coach. But being a great coordinator does not, mean you're going to be a great head coach. And, the stars really must align. And that's why you see more guys fail as coordinator, in my opinion, as coordinator or head coach, then succeed. It's just tough to win, man. And then you know once you get it right, you got situations like in New England or in KC where they're building dynasties. You know what I mean? And you're just trying to figure it out as a first year coach or whatever it may be. So yeah, man, it's hard to win in the National Football League. Is the bottom line.
Mel.
Yeah, as wealthy as these owners are, they're not very smart when it comes to hiring their head coaches. Everybody just kind of follows what the other person does. And so what we've gotten to a cycle of, you listen to the guys in the media thinks they know everything. They know more than what the owners know, for whatever reason. And everybody wants to hire the next hottest coordinator. And that's not always the best way to go. Like Marvin said, winning in the NFL is extremely, extremely difficult. You're looking for a leader of men, and the leader of men may come from somewhere else in the building, like John Harbaugh. He was a special teams coordinator. I mean, he was leading a unit, but he was a special teams coach. There's other guys that have not been coordinators that have been extremely successful in the league. You just have to find the right man to lead your team, the right guy to lead the team. Dan Campbell wasn't a coordinator, but he was the right guy for the Detroit Lions to lead that football team because he was a leader of men. You have to find a leader of men. If you're not in the locker room, if you're not in the building all the time and you don't see how people respond to a particular individual, then you're going to go based on what somebody is telling you. And a lot of that is cliquish. Who do I like? I like this person, I like that person, or whatever. This person makes me feel good, or I feel secure around this individual. That's why I should, I don't feel like I'm a my job or my status in the building if we hire this individual. And that's why a lot of guys get hired. You look at all the hirings going on right now. I mean, I see that Nathaniel Hackett just got a job as offensive coordinator, I would say, with who was it? Las Vegas, I believe it is.
He hired with the Cardinals. Yeah, he left the Dolphins.
Cardinals.
He was with the Dolphins for a cup of coffee, went over to the Cardinals. Go ahead.
And it's all relational. He said it. It's all relational. So I mean, it's musical chairs. These guys just keep changing locations, and because of relationships that they've established a long time ago, they're able to continue to get these jobs. So, like Marvin said, it's hard to win the league, but what owners have to do is they have to identify men, leaders of men, guys who people will respond to, who will run through the wall for. And that's not always the offensive coordinator. Just because he's the smartest guy, he can draw up great plays, things of that nature. I mean, we look at McDaniel down at Miami. I mean, he was a great coordinator, but I couldn't see him as my head coach. I just couldn't take him seriously. I couldn't take him seriously as a head coach. I mean, he may be uber talented, uber smart, but was he a leader of men? And it turned out that he probably wasn't.
And he probably won't want another head coaching job. He's tried it a few times, didn't work out. 3 more topics. We're on a great pace this morning, everybody. Hope you can join us. If you haven't seen much of the show or you're going to see part of it, no big deal. All you have to do is just go back to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, hit the red subscribe button, boom, you can see it all. I know today's going to be busy with a lot. We have spring training out there. We expect our audience to be diverting their attention to spring training games. I better enjoy baseball while you have it, because next year it's going to get ugly anyways. So enjoy it. And of course, you have the gold medal, all the Olympic stuff going on. But as Candy politely says, hey, game day, this is what it is, and we're getting it to you. And I love this group that we have here, especially Marvin and Mel, because they can definitely talk a lot about college football a lot, and there's a lot of college stories out there, and we're able to talk about a lot on the show. But when I could go into the depth of what I'm doing here, it shows you what a tremendous crew that I have in front of me. With that said, 3 more topics we're going to go. I like the pace. Our goal is to be out of here at 9 o'clock, and we'll get one more done right now. The last time that Indiana had a first-round pick was in 1994. His name was Thomas Lewis. I have a feeling that's going to change this year, Marvin, but what are your thoughts? Not taking 1994 people for Indiana to have a first-round pick, and that name is Thomas Lewis. Give me your brief synopsis on this one, Marvin.
Wait, the Indiana Hoosiers we're talking about?
Yeah, they haven't had a first-round pick since 1994.
1994. That's unbelievable.
I was on this show, Marvin.
Yeah. Well, when you first said it, I'm thinking to myself, he must mean like a number 1 overall pick, not just a first-round pick. Period.
First round pick, not number 1. I don't think they've ever had one of those.
that tells you why historically they are the most losingest program in the Power Four history. I mean they are. They've lost more games, I think, than any other school. And it's remarkable to see what they were able to do just in 2 years. I mean, it's really a Disney story. It's really Hollywood. I can't wait for the movie to come out with Kurt Segnetti being starred as by Tom Cruise. But yeah, that's ridiculous. You know, when you think about how many programs, you got programs out there who average, 1 or 2 first round picks a year. You know what I mean? So for them to go back, over 30 years, not have a first round pick, it just speaks to the state of their program. It speaks to, why they've been so bad, why nobody wants to go there. Mel wanted to go there. He took a trip there. But, but real players ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? If you got real offers, you ain't going to Indiana. But anyway, anyway. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that. I would think that, anybody, I would say that anybody in the Big Ten has had a first round pick, in the last 10 years. But that's not the case. So
that's why I come up with these stats, Marvin. Why? That's why you call me Coach, Marvin. Call me Coach, Marvin. Now.
All right, that's it. That's it, Coach.
Call me Coach now, Marvin, or I'm not sinking in.
You got it, Coach. You got it.
There we go. You got it right. But yeah, that's why I came up with these stats. You're going to learn and educated on these shows. All right. Yeah, I mean, come on. When I looked at the stat, we had to throw it in on Saturday. We'll go out there and make sure that this is your sausage, biscuits, and gravy. And his name is Thomas Lewis. Actually does sound pretty good. Sausage, biscuits, and gravy. Thank God we have a Cracker Barrel not too far away. But all right, what are your thoughts about Mel? This rare occurrence that Indiana gets a first-round pick, not a first overall, although I have a feeling that's going to change.
Well, it's not surprising. I mean, that's why they've been so bad. I mean, what kid really wants to go to Indiana? And yeah, Marvin alluded to the fact that I went to Indiana, but I took a visit over there. But Marvin, how many visits did you take?
4.
Okay, so, and how many were you allowed to?
5. I canceled my 5th one because I went in consecutive weekends and it was too much partying. Seriously.
Yeah, and so a lot of people probably assumed that you were going to go to US. And once UCLA got in the mix, schools just stopped calling. They stopped calling. So there's one left. I said, let me just go ahead and take this visit to Indiana. I only took 3 visits, and I think back you could take 5 or 6. I can't remember what it was, but I only took 3 visits. Because once UCLA got in the mix, everybody, the phone stopped ringing. And so that's why I ended up in Indiana. But it doesn't surprise me that they haven't had one. That's about the same amount. When's the time USC had a first round pick? It's been a while since they've had a first round pick as well.
Not that long.
But doesn't, maybe not that long, maybe 95. But it doesn't
we got more draft
me.
picks. We got more draft picks than anybody.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me,
history.
Sir.
What are you talking about?
Sir, it's my turn at the mic. It's my turn at the mic. Candy, could you cut his mic off? But it doesn't surprise me that because look at how poor they've been performing over there. There's no kid wants to go and be the doormat of the Big Ten, and I certainly didn't want to be the doormat of the Big Ten. That's one, that's why I didn't, and then I didn't want to play in the cold either. So I mean, there was teams like Wisconsin and that were recruiting me out. I didn't even really know where Wisconsin was, and then once I found out it was further north than Detroit, that's not gonna work for me because I don't want to play in the cold. So it doesn't surprise me. But again, like Marvin did say, it just shows you how remarkable of a job. And we've talked about it at nauseam. A remarkable of a job that Kurt Segnetti did, and he just got another raise. I think he's getting $13.2 million now.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to that another time, but I like when you let these storylines.
It means I've done it's crazy. Job. He came in. His original contract was like 4 or 6 years for 20 some odd million, and now he's already at $13.2 million a year. And he's had 3. They've redone his contract 3 times since he's been there in 2 years.
Okay. Candy.
Yeah, as Marvin alluded to, historically, Indiana's football program was widely perceived as one of the least successful. The perception was, and before 2024, athletic directors at Indiana mostly focused on basketball because it was a basketball school. From September 2012 until November 2025, the Indiana University football program had the most all-time losses, 715 as of November 2025 in the history of NC2A football until Northwestern has reclaimed the feat with their loss to USC. Since 1895, only 6 of the 25 head coaches have left Indiana University with a winning program. The last one was Bo McMillan in 1947. Crazy. I mean, if you go back to history too, there are 6 Indiana players that have been inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Only 6. And that program has been around since 1887, 139 years. That tells you something. I mean, right there. The smartest thing Indiana did was hire Kurt Scanetti.
No kidding. And guess what? And you know how he hired him? Through a president, people. Through a president. James Madison University. All right, there's my little 2 cents. All right, guess what? Former second-round pick wide receiver Cody Latimer has been hired by the Birmingham Stallions. Yes, we have another football league out there. Thanks for the recognition. Latimer played 6 seasons in the NFL, spent 2 seasons with the Brahmas and the Guardians, the Super Bowl 50 champ will serve as a wide receivers coach. I appreciate the kind of word by Earl. A drill sergeant mentality like the late Dennis Green. You can compare me to Dennis Green. I'm more than happy to do that. Coach Madmouth, I've coached a lot of people, and a lot of them work out. There are some that don't, but at least this group, they've all worked out. So anyways, Marvin, Cody Latimer is going to be a stallion.
Yeah, listen, these are the kind of opportunities that you get in this league, in this spring football league. Whether you're a player or a coach, I mean, everybody's trying to get to the big show, which is the NFL. And it's great that the UFL offers these opportunities for coaches, aspiring coaches, players who still, trying to get to the NFL. That's what it's for. I mean, that's what it's for. That's who it's for. So hopefully he can take advantage, find him a good young quarterback and find lightning in a bottle and get to the NFL.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to earn this stripe. I think it's great for him. This is what this is a profession that he's probably chosen that he wants to be in. And, he's working his way from the ground up, learning all the different nuances of the business of what it takes to be a head coach. People, and they'll have an opportunity to run a program in the UFL, will pay dividends for him later on down the road when he gets an opportunity to switch over to the NFL. Obviously probably start as a positional coach or I forgot what they call those, quality control coach, and then work his way up from there. But I think it's a good opportunity for him to get some good coaching experience, and hopefully things work out well for him.
And I'll just let everybody know in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about some coaches in the United Football League, trying to get through this little period called the Super Bowl, gradually get into the offseason. But I like talking about spring football with the United Football League because many years ago, I actually covered the United States Football League, the original Tampa Bay Bandits when they were at Tampa Bay Stadium. And, of course, the Michigan Panthers were playing back then. So I have a real deep compassion for spring football. So we'll get into more UFL topics over the next few weeks. All right, Candy.
I find it, you tie things in together so nice and neatly with a bow, Mr. Scott, because you tie your topics in together with a bow because Cody played at Indiana. I don't know if you remember that or knew that. He played for Indiana. He came out in the NFL. He played from 2011 to 2013. Then he entered the NFL draft in 2014 in his junior season. So he played with Denver. He is actually a Super Bowl champion. He played with the Giants, the Redskins, Orlando Guardians, and then he played with San Antonio Brahmins. And then he coached them last year, and now in the same position that he's coaching the Birmingham Stallions now. So it's always nice to see when players want to continue their career and they continue it as a coach. Hopefully he has good success. I'm glad that they have another league that a lot of these players can go in and help other young, talented football players.
All right, just to let everybody know, up ahead here on South Florida Tribune Media Network, I'm working on landing Continental Football League Commissioner Mike Kelly. I don't know if you've heard the name before, but he's been out there in the Canadian Football League and the NFL circles and trying to bring him on as a regular contributor. I'm currently in negotiations to try to get him on. The likely show he'll be on at the beginning will probably be the Wednesday Night Sports Exchange, but it wouldn't be uncommon if I could get him on Inside the Pigskin, probably the Tuesday night edition. Stay tuned. I'm always looking to upgrade talent. A lot of the things that I do during the week is I try to get rid of people that don't fit in with what we're doing for different reasons. And I'm always looking to upgrade. And I will continue to do this until I can't breathe and do this anymore. So mark my word, if you see some changes of people who are familiar faces that are no longer with the network, I had my good reasons. It was time to get rid of them and bring on some new people. And that's exactly what I'm doing. With that said, final topic of the night, or normally the night in the morning. Okay. And we're going to start with the Florida State Seminoles. It's where it began. It's where it ends. The Seminoles have a commitment from a quarterback, former Auburn quarterback, Ashton Davis. He played in 4 games last season. If this is a crapshoot, Marvin, I don't know what is, but what the heck? It's a make or break year. Ashton Davis is going to Tallahassee, and we'll see if Norvell can get any mileage out of him. Your thoughts? The final topic, and then we'll be able to move on to baseball later on. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, Ashton Daniels. He played his first.
Davis.
I think it's Ashton Daniels, but okay.
Is it Davis or Davis? I don't know.
Yeah, he played his first 3 years at Stanford University. He transferred to Auburn last year. This kid has over 4,700 yards passing, I believe, in his career, 1,400 yards rushing. The issue with him is that he has 24 touchdowns, but 22 interceptions. And when you look at what Mike Norvell is going to need next year at quarterback, you don't need a turnover machine. In his press conference, Ashton Daniels came out and acknowledged that the turnovers have been an issue, and he has to do better at that. But this is a dual threat kid. He's had a lot of action. He won't really be in too much of a quarterback competition, as he will be the prize guy. Florida State, they could have gone out and got a big name, big money quarterback, but they went with a guy who had some production, which is weird to me because, again, this is Norvell's last dance. And I don't know if this is a situation where the boosters didn't want to put the money up for a bigger quarterback or what, but if anything, they probably got value here with Ashton. It'll be interesting to see what he does, but he definitely has to get those turnovers down.
Well, this is a crapshoot. I'm glad you brought up it. Candy will make the clarification later on when she researches it, but it's either Davis Daniels. But this is a crapshoot. It is Daniels. Good. All right, we'll get that corrected. But one of the reasons that you can make a move like this is Tommy Castellanos is no longer the quarterback there. That's why you had to bring a guy like this. All right, go ahead, Mel.
Not for a lack of trying, because he did try to stay an extra year there. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, Castellanos, I think. Ashton, this kid here, he's from Georgia. Like Marvin said, he went out to Stanford initially and then came to Auburn. I don't understand it. Again, you're not developing guys. You're not developing a quarterback and bringing somebody up in your system. He hasn't seen this guy play. He doesn't know what his work ethic is like. All he knows is what people are telling him. He may have recruited him out of college, and he chose to go somewhere else. Now he's to go somewhere else twice, and this is his third stop. For whatever reason, things didn't work out, and sometimes it just happens that way. Things don't work out. But again, he's swinging for the fences. I mean, he has to do something there. Honestly, that position, they're graduating a quarterback. They don't have anybody in the pipeline. I guess they didn't recruit anyone. It seems like everybody's going for the transfer portal at this position, and nobody's wanting to develop a quarterback. They're letting the lesser schools or smaller schools or the less important schools develop quarterbacks, and then you could just try to pluck them off of somebody else's roster. But no, these big time coaches, they're not interested in trying to develop kids now because of the money. I mean, the money is so significant now. They have to win right now. And if they don't win right now, they know that they stand a chance to lose their job.
We've talked about the Seminoles in the past being cash strapped, that's for sure. And this could be one of those situations where this is an everything to gain, nothing to lose situation by all means. And again, Mark Norvell, was one of the few people that spared unemployment, but I'm not holding my breath next year. He needs to at least win 6, 7, 8 games, at least to survive. And then you go from there. Candy, you have the last word on the topic. You're going to go to a station break. We're getting everybody out with their final IDs. And the show's moving real well. This is the type of pace we're going to expect every single week when we do Inside the Pigskin Saturday morning. Go ahead, Candy. It's been a good rapid fire, but you had a lot of information. Go on, Candy.
So Daniels transferred to Auburn to play for the Tigers on December 16th of 2024. In week 8, playing Arkansas, he got the starting job after the starter Jackson Arnold was benched for throwing a pick 6. Now he is transferring. He has 1 year left of eligibility. He's transferring to Florida State as a graduate transfer with 1 year left. He joins a Seminoles quarterback room for the 2026 season, which includes fellow graduate transfer Dean DeNoble from Lafayette, returning redshirt freshman Kevin Sperry from the 2025 roster, and incoming true freshman Jaden O'Neal from the 2026 recruiting class. Daniels does not have the best record, but hey, if you're going to bring somebody in and you have 4 quarterbacks to fight for the starting job, why not? Especially if you don't have a lot of money for NIL to bring somebody in. It makes sense, and we'll see how well he can do next year.
Well, they're cash strapped. This is a good move. I have no problem with the move. I think it's a good move. All right, Katie, give us our only station break. Then we got Mel, we have Marvin, and of course I have some good shows lining up for the Motor City Mad Mouth and Marvin on the Mike Show coming up. Marvin's going to find that when I get some of the things I'm going to pull out of my pocket that little Harry has, there won't be any of it when I get through with some raising the bar on that show. He's going to wonder what's he talking about. Stay tuned, people, because this show's going to get even more interesting. Go on, Candy.
Lessons from the Microphone. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published this book. Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, talks about his 40-plus years in the business and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. The audio book is also out there, so go get it. Go check it out. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you ever want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner. That means you have not yet subscribed to our channel. Please do so. Why not? Great programming. And then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. The one last thing I will say, Scott, remember, we do have a baseball show after this today as well.
Yeah, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, talking baseball. We have a good crew, a lot of baseball conversation to go. Mel, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
You find me all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. What we have going on for the youth at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Earl, appreciate you big time in the chat room. Then again, I appreciate you anyways. All right, Marvin, go ahead.
Yeah, you can catch me on all social medias. As you see there, Marvin on the mic. You can Google Marvin Powell III.
All right. Well, with that said, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please finish.
No. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. It's 9 o'clock, and guess what? We're done. How about that? I hope everybody on this panel learned that when you could go rapid fire and you could go out there and do it in 70 minutes, it's a beautiful thing with a lot of information. And I never thought I'd start off a football show talking about alcohol at 6 a.m. in the morning. Oh, well, never mind. It doesn't matter. Good luck, USA hockey with the gold. And Canada, I hope you drink a lot, and we'll see what kind of stuff you're drinking. Well, I don't want to get past 9:01. Otherwise, I'll be in deep trouble. So on behalf of Candy, Mel Farr Jr., Marvin Powell III, this is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Man Mouth, your energetic, wild, off-the-wall, crazy man motor mouth. Thank you for joining us. And guess what? If you're not done with me, I'll see you in 2 hours. So will Candy, and so will a few other people. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye now.